Good afternoon, everyone. This is Melissa from Social Studies Services. We're delighted to have you here today. We're very fortunate to have Miss Tracy Adkins joining us. She is phenomenal, and I know that you're going to love all of her experience. She has been teaching for 19 years. I am almost there in several areas. So she's taught pre-K, kindergarten, third grade, ESL, and Title I. And now she teaches second grade, and she is in Madison, Alabama. Tracy is passionate about early childhood and building relationships with her students, which is so important. Tracy's going to be sharing ways for you to create a classroom culture for fostering social and emotional learning. Use the chat feature on the right-hand side to participate in the webinar. Also, if you have any questions, pop them up there and Tracy will answer them. I'll be monitoring that for her. And we are recording this session, so if you want to watch it later or refresh something, with that will be available to you. And also, we will have a quick survey at the end. So if you will, please go ahead and complete that if you have time. So I'm so glad everyone is here. And Tracy, we are ready to learn. I turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited about presenting the topic, creating a culture that fosters social emotional learning. So first, what is social emotional learning? According to the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, which is also called CASEL, C-A-S-E-L, social and emotional learning is the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. So you might ask, why do we need social emotional learning? For myself, it's simple. The future of the world is in my classroom today, and that's truly something that I think about every single day in my classroom. I remember and remind myself every day that I have the opportunity to make a difference. Every day I have children in my classroom that need something. I believe that a child's social and emotional needs are more important than anything that I can teach them. I want my students to know how to feel good about themselves, how to control their emotions, how to listen to others with their whole heart. I want to model the way I want to be treated to my students. I believe that every child on this earth was made to do something great and that they will leave a legacy. My students repeat this on a daily basis. We all get together during circle time and we say, I was made to do something great and I will leave a legacy. I teach my students that a legacy is just the footprints that we are leaving behind. We make the choice whether our footprints will be positive or negative. So what can I do in my classroom? CASEL identifies 5 components of social emotional learning. You will see those listed here on the screen. You as an educator can work to make sure you are implementing these components within your classroom. The first component is self-awareness. Know your strengths and limitations with a well-grounded sense of confidence, optimism, and growth mindset. Self-management is the second component. Effectively manage stress, control impulses, and motivate yourself to set and achieve goals. Social awareness is the third component. This means that you understand the perspective of others and empathize with them, including those from diverse backgrounds and cultures. The fourth component is relationship skills. Communicate clearly, listen well, cooperate with others, resist inappropriate social pressure, negotiate conflict constructively, and seek and offer help when needed. The last component is responsible decision making. This means I can make constructive choices about personal behavior and social interactions based on ethical standards, safety, and social norms. So let's first look at the component self-awareness. Self-awareness, as I said before, is defined as the conscious knowledge of one's own character. feelings, motives, and desires. I want my students to be aware of who they are. I want them to feel good about themselves. If they feel good about themselves, then it is so much easier for them to pour into others within the classroom and within the school and at their home. When I am modeling self-awareness, I also stress that sometimes we, as people, as kids, have to do hard things. Now, this is a hard concept for most children. They want something to happen instantaneously, and they do not always want to keep trying. I spend much of my day encouraging my students to keep trying. The best part of me activity that you'll see here on the screen is a great way to promote self-awareness within the classroom. I read the book, The Best Part of Me by Wendell Ewald, to the class. In this book, real children talk about their bodies in pictures and in words. After reading the story, we spend a few minutes thinking about what is the best part of me. We then go to our seats and I set a timer for 10 minutes. I tell the class that I want them to write as much as they can about the best part of them. I also stress to them that we are not worried about how words are spelled. I just want them to write down everything they feel about their best part and why it is their best part. The book in itself is a really great hook for this activity. You really do not have to do a lot of teaching once you've read the book on what they need to do. I always model my own writing while the class is writing. Once our writing is complete, I share what I wrote about the best part of myself. I then let the students take turns sharing what they wrote. I make this a really big deal by letting the students stand in a chair, as you'll see this little boy here. He's one of my students that I've had that sometimes needed a lot of extra character building, but he loved standing in that chair and telling everybody the best part of him. Everyone gets really quiet and really focuses in on each other. After reading, I let the students make any changes they want and let them add anything else they want to their writing. Every student checks in with me and we edit and then publish this writing. I always get teary-eyed when the students are reading their best parts of me out loud. They are so beautifully written and so very real. After we finish up our writing, I take a picture of the student's best part of them and we display the writing and the picture together. This is always a conversation piece for teachers in the hallway as they're looking at this. This is always something that my parents get very excited about getting every year. I had lived with the class last year, so I had a class for 2 years. We still did it on the second year, and the parents were very excited to get their child's best part of me. Self-management. Self-management is defined as management of or by oneself, the taking of responsibility for one's own behavior and well-being. When students are self-managing themselves, they know their own strengths and they know their own weaknesses. Once a student knows their strengths and weaknesses, then they can effectively manage stress, emotions, impulses, and they can motivate themselves to achieve goals. Something I like to remind myself of is this quote you'll see here by Dali Lama. When educating the minds of our youth, we must not forget to educate their hearts. I want to just challenge you to remember that when you are teaching self-management, and sometimes that's really hard because we have those kids that just have zero control of their own behavior. I want you to make sure and remember that we must always remember to educate our students' hearts. I myself believe that self-management is a great way to educate the hearts of my students. I can't yet. I love to intentionally read this book, Giraffes Can't Dance, to help with teaching self-management inside my classroom. In this book, the giraffe can't dance like all the other jungle animals, and he's made fun of because of his lack of dancing skills. Gerald, the giraffe, is the perfect character to teach students about growth mindset and what we can't do yet. In my classroom, I read this book to the class and then we brainstorm a list of things that the giraffe could not do yet. After we discuss the story, we talk about what we can't do yet. This book leads us into so much conversation about what we can't do yet and what we want to be able to do one day. This then leads us into our own goal setting. I reread this book many times to my class throughout the school year, especially if I see that someone is having a hard time with a topic, reaching a goal, or even just showing kindness to someone. You'll see here on the screen, this little boy, his I can't yet is he one day wants to be a professional piano player. So he just wrote this this week as we're getting ready for some goal setting and setting some goals for the year. And he's talked with me and he wants to make sure he's practicing the piano so that he can one day be a professional piano player. Social awareness. Social awareness is the ability to comprehend and appropriately react to both broad problems of society and interpersonal struggles. This means you are socially aware of your environment, what's around you, and you can accurately interpret the emotions of people with whom you interact. This is hard for kids. They are very concerned about themselves. They have a very hard time with thinking outside of themselves. So social awareness is something that us as educators are teaching every single day. And you'll notice here on the screen that I added something about empathy, because when you're teaching social awareness, I do believe that empathy is a very big component to teach. And it says here, empathy is seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. This is ultimately about creating a classroom community. That's what I like to think of when I'm teaching social awareness. This is what we as educators do at the beginning of the school year and throughout the school year. I begin my year with working hard in my classroom, and I'm wanting to make my classroom a happy place for my children and myself. I want my children to feel safe, and I want them to want to be at school. We begin the school year by learning routines and how to treat one another. I must, many times throughout the school year, remind my second graders how to treat one another. And let's be honest, I really do this on a daily basis. Again, empathy is an extremely important part of teaching those social emotional skills. Children have to learn to empathize. It is natural for a child to think of themselves first. In my classroom, I teach my students to listen with their ears, listen with their eyes, and listen with their heart. We spend a lot of time modeling and discussing things that we can do as individuals and as a class to empathize with others. Have you filled a bucket today? This is another great activity to use with teaching that social awareness. And this is something that we just did today in my classroom. You can read this book, Have You Filled a Bucket Today? And in the book, it talks about what a bucket filler is and what a bucket dipper is. And basically, bucket fillers are doing great things, building each other up. Bucket dippers are doing things to tear each other down. And so then you can go into brainstorming a list, and you can make something to go along with this where the kids are actually writing down things that they will do to be a bucket filler. This is something that we keep inside of a leadership notebook, and so we refer back to it throughout the whole school year. And we do have to be reminded, hey, we're going to fill up each other's buckets, and we might have to be reminded to go get our bucket and look and see what we wrote down that we were going to do to be bucket fillers. Relationship skills. Relationship skills is the ability, it is the skills, it is the tools, the knowledge, the knowing, and the understanding to create, communicate, evolve, grow, trust, and maintain a relationship. When you think of teaching relationship skills, think of teaching basic character education. Things such as compassion, honesty, caring, fairness, respect, citizenship, and courage. And those are just to name a few. There's a wonderful author named Maria Dismondy, and she has wonderful books that actually touch on many different character traits. So she is a wonderful author to go and visit her website and find wonderful ideas for implementing more character type lessons into your day. Courage is something that I just wanted to pick out of one of these relationship skills, because I find as elementary students, especially second graders, they don't always have the courage to do the right thing. They sometimes don't have the courage to just speak out in front of others. And so this book, Spaghetti and a Hot Dog Bun, is by Maria Dismondy. And in this book, Lucy knows what she stands for, and she has the courage to make the right choice involving a boy that has been mean to her. This book empowers children to always do the right thing and to be proud of themselves even when they are faced with someone challenging. We intentionally read this book as a class, and then we discuss what we want to have the courage to do. I actually did this activity last year at the end of my school year when I had invited families to come in, and every family, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, the kids, we all wrote down on hearts the things that we want to have the courage to do. It was a really powerful lesson. It was a great opportunity for myself to get to talk to my students, but to their parents at the same time, just to give that gentle reminder that we do have to encourage our kids to just have the courage to do the right thing. And the last component is responsible decision making. Responsible decision making is making decisions, making choices that are good for you and for others. It is the ability to understand yourself, your actions, how your actions affect others, and what is socially acceptable. Responsible decision making is ultimately what we are teaching every single day inside the classroom. This component consists of making constructive choices about personal behavior. You are probably giving gentle reminders every single day. Are you making a smart choice? Is that something that would make someone feel good on the inside or feel yucky on the inside? It requires students to experience interaction with peers and with adults. This is definitely something that requires a lot of practice. One thing I do inside my classroom here at the beginning of the year is I teach one big number one rule. And our big number one rule is we will never hurt anyone on the inside or the outside. So I'm able to say that to my children often. When someone says something that wasn't nice to another student, then I say, did that hurt you on the inside or the outside? And they always are able to tell if it was on the inside or the outside. And then they're able to apologize. Although sometimes with this component, this responsible decision making, your student might not have the words yet to make that apology. So you have to model that. You might have to say, okay, I need you to repeat after me. And then they will say, I'm sorry that I said that about you. Will you please accept my apology? And so those are just different things that I do. I mean, really, it becomes very second nature. And I know those of you that are listening, you are teachers that are within the classroom every single day. So those things are second nature to you. In ending, I do believe that social and emotional learning is probably the most important thing that you could teach within your room to the students that you have received. Many kids nowadays, are not receiving these things at home. Moms and dads are busy, or grandparents or another family member might be raising a child. They're busy. Those students are watching TV, they're playing games, and the things that they're learning, the ways to behave, are coming from maybe the TV, maybe from YouTube, and instead of from a person actually modeling those things. I know this year I've had, we've only been in school for 2 weeks, but I've had a lot of little boys really wanting to say, I'm going to kill you. They don't mean I'm going to kill you, but it all refers back to games that they're playing. And so we've had to have a lot of discussion about just making sure that what we're saying is a smart choice. And then we even have to go into the discussion of, this is not something that is a smart choice. So I want to say thank you for being with me today. I'm trying to figure out what happened to my computer went off here. Let's see. I'm so sorry. Here we go. Back at the beginning. But anyway, I wanted to say thank you for being with me today. I encourage you to just Google social emotional learning. You will find so many different things, so many different activities that you can put into place within your classroom. But just remember, you have received the children that you have received for a reason. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I heard something on some social media or something that I was on recently, and it said the parents send you the best they have. They're not keeping the really good ones at home. They send you what they have, and for whatever reason, they are put in our path, and it is so important that we give them the things they need. And I completely agree with you. In fact, I think in my kindergarten library, I think I'm going to go with your big rule, because that is a really good idea, especially with kinders who they can't remember 5 rules all the time. But that big one really hits a lot of the, even if they're talking out, well, are you hurting their learning? Maybe we could go there. I'm not sure, but I love it. Excellent ideas. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Maybe even share some things that you do in your classroom. Throw that in the chat feature. I really appreciate everyone being here today. And
Yes, thank you so much.
like I said, that was a lot of good stuff. You gave me chills several times, especially when you talked about the little guy standing on the chair and being so proud to share what he had written. I just think that is so amazing. Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for coming and sharing this with us. I feel you have a lot to take away with you today. So we'll be back with some more webinars in the future. And don't forget the survey at the end. And thank you everybody for attending.